Hey everybody, this is Review Revolution coming back at you with, I guess the next in the DC Universe Wave 6 collection. And today we're taking a look at the official, or the launch, the Wave version of Superman. This one being in his black Kryptonian life suit, recovery suit, black suit, whatever you want to call it. This was, of course, the outfit he wore just after his return, after coming back from the dead. With Captain Marvel that I did, I had a whole little segment about kind of his history and background. People seem to like it, and there's a lot to be said for this. I don't know if I'll do a whole part on it, but this suit, though not all that impressive in and of itself, the design is pretty basic. You know, the colors are pretty monotone, actually, obviously. It was a very pivotal moment, both in the Superman story, in the DC Universe story, and for comics in general. At this time, you know, by 1992, things had kind of been, you know, a little meh. You know, it hadn't really been going all that well for comics. Marvel was certainly enjoying a better time with Cable and their X-Men series, but DC was starting to kind of lose its place. So the big thing was, well, let's show you what the world would be like without Superman. That was the big story. A world without Superman, and he would actually die. The trilogy, the problem was that the trilogy, the death of Superman, the funeral for a friend, and then the reign of Superman, there was very little time that there was not a Superman, or a Superman of some kind. Of course, Death of Superman was his famous conflict with Doomsday, which has been reinterpreted and retold, and you know there's all kinds of versions out there that you can see. Funeral for a Friend was actually kind of a short-run type of thing. It lasted across several of the DC Universe characters, their comic titles, but as far as chronologically goes, it was a fairly short period, and that would be the only time that you could think of there was a time without Superman. Then began the reign of the Superman. And by that, there were 4 individuals who came forward claiming to be Superman. The first one being the Man of Tomorrow, now known as kind of Cyborg Superman. A very pivotal story, particularly in the Green Lantern series. There was the Eradicator, who the Eradicator is the Superman with the yellow visor. Interesting story behind him. The Eradicator was actually a Superman villain who, through the robots and so forth in the Fortress of Solitude, basically remade him into Superman's image. They couldn't get his biology quite right, so he had to wear that yellow visor as a way of filtering out the yellow energy. But that was the second one. The Man of Steel, who we all know as Steel, still survives to this day. Most of them do. But Steel survives today as one of the heroes, and certainly one of the more interesting ones. I actually kind of like the story behind him. I like kind of some of the retellings of his story, but he was actually one of the 4 during the reign of Superman. And of course, the coolest one, and the one that I'm looking the most forward to getting in the DC Universe Wave coming up, is the Metropolis Kid, Superboy. Now, Superboy started off in a blue and red and blue jumpsuit with the jacket, and was just an all-around really cool version of Superboy. Great way to reboot and reintroduce the character. Superboy was basically a clone of Superman, and they each kind of filled one of the Superman titles that were out there. As time went on, we started to learn that the Cyborg Superman, along with Mongol, were basically behind a plot to take over things. And basically the other Supermen, kind of the remaining Supermen, Superboy, Steel, and the Eradicator, kind of got together with Supergirl and Green Lantern and began to fight back. It was during this time that the Kryptonian War Suit appeared, which inside was Kal-El, the true Superman. When they find him, he doesn't have his powers. You know, he's pretty weak. He's almost like a regular mortal in the way he seems. And so he's given this black suit to basically augment his powers and to kind of try and bring him up at least more to the league of the people he's fighting along with. In that story, or in that line, he actually goes through and does one of the most un-Superman-like things I've ever seen, and he actually gets a lot of holsters and bandoliers and rifles, and he's out there gunning things up. And he's going after some pretty serious dudes, and he's going at it with guns. So, definitely one of the least Supermanish things I've ever seen, but made for a cool comic and a great kind of reintroduction of the character. And this really has gone on a lot longer than I thought. So we're going to go ahead and make this part 1. We'll be back here for part 2, take a look at the figure, and have some fun. So see you in a bit.